how I survived insomnia in high school. How? Because it's okay. I have a new schedule. I started a new schedule because of my job, and I'm waking up earlier and I'm going to bed at the same exact time as I have been the last couple of years. And I haven't been on a schedule like this since high school. And I'm really proud of myself. I'm doing good. I'm getting up and I'm doing everything. I'm getting there like on time mostly. But I really look back on my high school career and how insomnia really affected my life. And going through what I'm going through now, I'm on my second week of this schedule and I'm consuming a lot more caffeine, and I didn't drink coffee at all in high school. So I'm really curious to like how I made that happen. Maybe it's just because you're used to the schedule, but yeah, I'm on a similar schedule, 7 to 3, and I'm making it work, but I want to consume less caffeine. And it's making me think about the days where I couldn't sleep at night at all. And that was back in high school. Let me just paint the picture before I talk about my current position and what's going on. If I really want to start from the beginning, we're going to start when I was 12. When I was 12 years old, I was experiencing a lot of sleep paralysis. Because of the sleep paralysis, I was struggling to go to bed because I knew that there was a chance the sleep paralysis would hit me. And I remember the first time this happened. I thought I was being attacked. I thought I was dying. I'm like, oh, I'm dying. This is what dying feels like. Okay. That's how it felt to me. And it was just so scary. And it was so like, I just remember feeling it like Thor's hammer was on my chest and praying a lot through it. I just felt like caged in my own body. And I want to make a whole video about sleep paralysis. But this is my theory as to like what occurred. I went through that, went to the doctor because I had no idea it was called sleep paralysis at the time. The doctors didn't diagnose me with that. They thought I was having some sort of heart attack. And because I was describing it as not being able to move, my heart racing really fast. And so, yeah, that's not what it was. It was sleep paralysis. So I was starting to get really afraid of sleeping at night, and I would just kind of stay up thinking. This probably started when I was 10, 11. Just so vivid imagery in my mind, just a lot of story, like a lot. And I just escaped all the time in cars, at church, during prayer. I was always thinking. I was always in another faraway land, which isn't uncommon for a kid, I guess. Like I had a strong imagination. But at night is where I like flourished. No one could bother me. There was no distractions. I was in Neverland. I was somewhere. And this was on top of the fact that I was afraid of sleep paralysis. This really kept me awake, and it kept going, but it wasn't the worst thing. It wasn't until I was getting near high school that my middle school schedule changed to my high school schedule, and I was suddenly having to wake up earlier to catch the bus, and I need to be at school by 7, and I don't know what time the bus came, probably 6:45, 6:30, which meant I had to be up by 5:36, I don't know, but that was the norm. And I just remember when the insomnia started, I remember being so like afraid of myself and worried about like going to sleep and not knowing how it was going to turn out for me. I had no idea from one night to the next how my next day was going to go because I put so much importance on sleep. I felt like my body wasn't going to be able to function, and I wasn't allowed to drink coffee or energy drinks or anything like that. And I didn't want to either. I wanted to have like a normal day, and I really felt like if I didn't get like 8 hours, my body would shut down on me, that I wouldn't be able to perform as well on my tests, on work. I didn't want to be tired. I was not fall asleep in class, And I wasn't like perfect, like teach me, but like still, because I would daydream in class too. But still, like I knew that it was important to get enough sleep. And I was like psyching myself out of it. It was a combination, sleep paralysis and my mind not being able to shut up just replaying conversations, events, making up my own scenarios, watching movies front to back, all happening in my mind. Stories like flying through the air, like just so much. And as you guys already know, I'm a writer, but I had so much story going on in my brain, and it was so troublesome. And I thought that I could just find solutions, like, okay, I guess this is how I am, because nobody else seems to have a problem. My sister slept in the same room as me. It would take her less than 5 minutes to fall asleep. Her head hit that pillow, she was out. Out. I could say her name and she wouldn't hear me. Not me. It would take hours. And I was so confused why it would take my sister minutes and it would take me hours. So I did a little research, read books, looked it up. I was like, how can I get to sleep? Like, what's the best way? Because I was so afraid that I was going to mess myself up, or that I was going to be incomprehensible, that I was going to like fall apart. So I started exercising. I started working out. I started doing a ton of physical activities. I learned a bunch of tricks. I learned how to stare at the wall. I learned how to not count sheep. I learned how to like make my eyes tired. I used to do this for like, I don't know how long. Apparently that was supposed to help. Drinking tea, like just a bunch of things that would help my brain just trick itself into falling asleep. Making the room cool, having the like right temperature, like having the right amount of darkness. I knew so much about sleep by the time I was in 9th grade that I could have written you 3 essays about it. It was so annoying. And the best place, and I kept finding out like, where do I fall asleep easiest? And that was in the car. And I kept thinking like, oh my gosh, like, do I have to like have someone drive me around all night so that I can sleep? That's insane. I can't do that. But it wasn't really the car. I kept thinking it was the movement. And there wasn't really anything I could do about that. So I asked my mom, like, can we get a hammock? Can we do something? And that wasn't feasible. Like, it wasn't practical. And I'm like, okay, none of these things are working. This exercising, this milk before bed, which like is like a myth and a scam, right? But also, if you think it's gonna help you, it might help you. But anyway, all of these things, hot showers, cool room, whatever, none of it's working. I am staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, and I have to be up by 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm not doing well, and I performed perfectly fine at school, mind you. I was doing great. I never missed a test. I never missed the bus ever. I was always on time, and I was always fine. But it was just my brain and my worry that I was doing some sort of damage that I couldn't tell. Some sort of like, I was underdeveloping. I was stunting my own mental growth because I wasn't reading. I wasn't sleeping enough. That this was gonna impact my health and have long-term effects. And you know what? That wasn't bad to think that way, but the way that I completely stressed myself out was so bad. And so I said to myself, you know what? Since it takes me hours to fall asleep, I'm going to go to bed hours before I usually do. So I started going to bed at 9, started going to bed at 8. I tried to go to bed as early as I could, because I knew like, okay, if I go to bed at 7 or 8, I'll have like 4 hours before midnight. And if I go to bed maybe at like 1, then I'll still have like 4, like doing all the math, you know? People do it. Doing all the math, how many hours of sleep you're gonna get. And I would do it. I would go to bed early. I'd go to bed so early. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to do my routine. I'm going to go to bed. And I'm going to do this. And I would try my hardest to quiet my mind and empty my mind. And there were some nights that were so bad that I felt like it was a buzzing in my freaking head. It was like I couldn't get it to shut up. And I would try so hard. And I learned this method that to this day I still think about, and I still like maybe try, that if you don't move for at least 15 minutes, you will automatically fall asleep. If you lay completely still for 15 minutes, you will fall asleep. And I would try so hard to do that, but then I would have an itch, or I would want to turn suddenly, or I became too hot, and then, or I moved my head a little. suddenly I felt like the timer started over and I had to do another 15 minutes, and I would get frustrated and frustrated and frustrated until finally I would just like completely panic, and I would get up and I would go to the bathroom. Like, this was on one of like the more worst nights. I would go to the bathroom. I remember hitting my head like this just to try to get it to shut up. And I would lay on the bathroom floor just crying my eyes out because there's clearly something wrong with me. I couldn't get my brain to sleep. And I begged my mom for sleeping pills because I knew those existed, but I didn't really know anything about them. And she refused. She was like, no, people get addicted to those. And I was like, okay, I guess I have no, because I had no money. I was like, okay, I have no option. I just have to suffer through this. And that's how I am, you know? And I accepted it, and I said, I have to do everything I can. I have to put all the parameters in place to make sure that I get at least somewhat healthy sleep. And I would read before bed, anything. I would like exercise, stretch before bed, anything that I felt like would help me get tired. And some of those things aren't the best method, but yes, that's what ended up happening. And I remember it being so not helpful. my dad especially, he would get so frustrated. They would blame like TV and things like that and movies for the reason that I couldn't fall asleep. In like looking back, it was more than likely just like my imagination, and I'm sure TV and movies fueled that, but it was not helpful. To like, taking that away wouldn't have helped. And also like, and it's not like I was watching an absurd amount of TV or absurd amount of movies. It was a normal, probably less than normal amount. It was just not helpful to have a parent in the middle of the night wake up while you're crying on the bathroom floor and tell you how like unnormal you are, and tell you how like it's your own fault that this is happening to you, that, you know, if you would just stop watching TV, then maybe you wouldn't be like this, and that because you didn't pray hard enough. Those were the types of things that like didn't stick with me necessarily, but just like made me feel like it was all my fault, like I was doing something wrong. But it wasn't. In those moments, I'm proud of myself for like not believing it. I'm like, I'm absolutely doing everything in my power to fall asleep. I am not trying, okay? And I can clearly see that every human is different, because the way that my sister falls asleep and the way I fall asleep, different. The way that my cousins fall asleep and the way I fall asleep, different. So I do not sit here and think that this is all on me. This has to be like just due to like humans being different. And despite me knowing that it wasn't entirely my fault, I still struggled and cried and struggled through high school. On top of that, if you think about the fact that I was in like a very intensive church environment where we also had crazy schedules and we'd come back late, and I was also volunteering and doing clubs. I was doing all these things, and I was doing it all on a lack of sleep. But once I was up, I wasn't tired. I was determined to not be tired. I was scared that my lack of sleep would affect my performance, but I never let it. I refused. I'm like, this is the situation I'm in. I can't change it currently. I'm trying my best to change it, but I can't change it. I haven't found the thing that's going to change it. So I'm going to proceed better than normal. I'm not going to let it get me. So for the rest of high school, I just more than toughed it out. I gave it my all. I did my best. I never like fell asleep during class, except for that one teacher, but that is his own fault, and he said it himself. A lot of kids fall asleep in his class. I've never heard someone speak so much where I was just like, oh my, it was just, yeah. But yeah, that was my journey with insomnia. And currently, now that I'm back on my high school schedule, essentially, working as a summer facilitator at a camp, kind of like as an administrative / academic role. I try to get enough sleep, and I'm realizing like 4 or 5 hours I'm doing well, and I don't want to rely on coffee. I just naturally really love coffee, but honestly I don't feel tired. Even without the coffee, I don't feel tired. I feel energized when I'm doing the work that I'm doing, and that's good. I don't want to feel tired. I don't want to rely on coffee, even though I love it. I wanted to do better every day. But yeah, that's my current situation. Thank you for listening. I will be making a very in-depth video on sleep paralysis soon, so please look forward to it. Because I know a lot of people don't even know what that is, and a lot of people experience it without knowing what it is, and it's so scary. So I'm gonna make a video about it soon. If you're experiencing insomnia and you're trying everything you can to fall asleep or to get like a healthy amount of hours, just know that it's not always your fault. It doesn't have to be something that takes over during the day, and you have a lot more power than you think, even though it feels really powerless. Kind of just giving yourself the energy and giving yourself the power to say, I'm gonna do good, I'm gonna have a great day, I'm gonna do all of these amazing things, I'm gonna show up. Those are such powerful statements, and they really affect you. And even if it feels silly, but if you are fighting the insomnia battle, it doesn't always last. It doesn't have to be forever. The answer isn't always going to be melatonin, because once I discovered melatonin, I was so worried about, forming some sort of habit or not being able to fall asleep without it. So definitely space yourself, and if you don't need to, don't use them on the weekends or whenever you're free, because everyone's situation is different. But yeah, and if you know someone who's going through insomnia, give them support. Be there for them. But yeah, that's everything.